Welcome everybody to the first episode of the new year. We're delighted to be joined by a guest I've been looking forward to talking to for a long time, one of the biggest players in the world at the moment, Ilan Sobel, who's the CEO of a company called Bioharvest. So Bioharvest basically are Bioharvest Sciences Inc., should I say, are the first and only fully validated industrial scale plant cell technology platform for the production of plant metabolites, if I'm correct. They've recently created cannabis trichomes in their proprietary reactors that have resulted in 100 to 200x times greater density of trichomes than grown in a plant. So a big player in the world at the moment. Ilan, I'm delighted to have you on the show today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Owen, to be here on your first show of 2022.
But this is it, maybe we have to start with a bang. Last year seemed to be the kind of a big movement of pharma industry into the kind of cannabis space. And for all the diehard cannabis players out there who are bemoaning pharmacy getting into this is what's happening. Recreational will be the genetics growers, the tenders, the bud tenders. It's a separate industry now, and pharmaceuticals will come in and create bespoke medicines for bespoke diseases that can't be replicated with a plant. So we might as well get used to it and get talking to the biggest players in the game at the moment, Ilan. So basically, can you maybe give everybody an overview of how you came from Coca-Cola into Bioharvest Sciences Inc.?
Yeah, sure, no problems. Well, I'm very privileged to be CEO of Bioharvest Sciences. It's been an amazing 18-month journey in this role. Probably the best 18 months of my professional career. I think my experience actually set me up beautifully for the challenges, the dynamic challenge that I have ahead in this role. With 18 years as an international employee of the Coca-Cola company, having spent that across multiple different geographies, 12 years in Asia, 3 years in Africa, and 3.5 years in the US, in multiple general management roles, understanding the business end to end. So I had a really good understanding of the food and beverage business. And then I moved to Israel in 2014 and went into the startup world, and together with two partners built a big data, IoT, and software business in the beer industry. And after building a business with all the major beer players as our customers, with Heineken, Carlsberg, Anheuser-Busch InBev, we were very fortunate to actually do a significant exit, and we sold the business to Anheuser-Busch InBev and became a major big data analytics player for the Anheuser-Busch InBev system. So, with that background and industry and knowledge in the food and beverage industry, and also having worked at my time in Coca-Cola in really building a number of health and wellness brands, I actually came to Bioharvest Sciences as an investor. And after completing a very intensive due diligence on the company, I realized, wow, this company is amazing. It's like a gold mine. It's got technology which is like a needle in a haystack, which is super unique. Is able to bring the power of the plant to the people with a very unique proprietary platform technology, which has the ability to grow any primary metabolite, so any protein or any secondary metabolite, such as a polyphenol, antioxidant, or in fact, we're going to talk about today, cannabinoids. And we're able to grow any primary metabolite or secondary metabolite from the plant. So any essential active ingredient that plants have, we're able to grow in cells. And then over time, we grow these cells in bioreactors to give us an amazingly soluble and bioavailable end product with fantastic efficacy. So when I came in as an investor, I thought, wow, this company is really unique. And I invested, and I drove the existing CEO, who's now the chairman, so crazy during my due diligence process that once my check had actually passed through the bank, he called me back up and he said, listen, I realized through this process you put us through that I need a professional CEO to come and run this business and to bring the power of our technology to the market. And I'd like you to be that professional CEO to come and run the business. So here I am 18 months later, Owen. It's been amazing. We've achieved so much. We're certainly creating history as it relates to the cannabis world. At its core, we're a biotech company. We are the leaders in plant cell technology. We're unlocking the secrets of cellular plant biology every single day, bringing unique health and wellness and therapeutic solutions to thousands of consumers out there.
Yeah, amazing. It seems like a very exciting company to be a part of, both in both aspects. Now, through my research, I realized you guys got started in 2008. In 2017, you got your R&D license from the Israeli government. 2018 is when you do cells to grow and produce trichomes. What was the big milestone that happened last year that all the press was about? If you could break it down simply for the audience, that you were able to create trichome biomass, obviously in a reactor, but what does that mean for the regular consumer and industry?
Yeah, look, so there were a number of historical milestones that happened in the last 12 months. And I like to say we pretty much climbed Mount Everest and back 6 times, just given the fact that we've been pioneers in this area, and we've gone where no person has gone before. Because, right now there's no literature out there as it relates to actually growing cells, cannabis cells in bioreactors. There's no academic institution out there that has, or other business that's been able to do what we've been able to do. And I guess the major milestone that we were able to demonstrate was the ability to actually grow the trichomes in bioreactors. And as many of the audience obviously know, the trichome is the mini factory that produces the cannabinoids, flavonoids, and terpenes, and actually stores those critical active ingredients. And we were able to figure out how we take the plant once, we then grow cells from that plant, and as we actually take those cells and put those cells into liquid media, i.e. bioreactors, we were able to actually grow from each of our cells those very unique trichomes. So this was a major feat. It created, biotech history as well as, cannabis history, because no other company has been able to grow trichomes in liquid media. We then had another major breakthrough, and obviously this is all part of our unique IP, is that we were able to actually grow our trichomes in a very, very unique structure, which we call a amalgamated trichome coral structure. This was a real, genius breakthrough from a science perspective, because as you are growing, as you are scaling products in bioreactors, and as your bioreactors get larger and larger, you have what they call shear forces. And with our amalgamated trichome coral structures, what actually landed up happening is that we were able to get the actual trichomes to all amalgamate closely together to create somewhat what you can see when you look at it like a coral structure, which actually protects the trichome. And this was a real breakthrough, because it allows us to actually go from, small bioreactors to medium bioreactors to, really industrial scale bioreactors in a way that protects the unique integrity of that trichome, which is so important because it's the mini factory. So this was the second breakthrough. And with this breakthrough, we announced to the markets at the end of last year, on December 8th, that we actually have now been able to grow kilos of final finished biomass. And I think it's important, Owen, for you and the audience to understand that what we are growing is full spectrum, non-GMO biomass. And that was, again, another major milestone that we announced to the marketplace, that we're the first company in the world to be able to grow full spectrum non-GMO cannabis biomass at specifically at the quantities that we're able to grow. And we announced that we had grown roughly 10 kilos of the biomass. And this is something that no other company or institution has been able to do. And what's important about this is that as a result of our technology, this allows us to be able to bring a unique grade of cannabis to the marketplace, which we will be bringing in 2022. And the uniqueness is derived by, a number of different areas. The first area is its fingerprint consistency, so which is so important in the cannabis world, specifically from a medicinal perspective. We have a level of cleanliness which is unique to the marketplace because we literally started the plant once, okay? So therefore, and we're growing cells, so there's no need for pesticides. There's no need for fertilizer. There's no heavy metals. There are no solvents. So we have a very unique, clean product. And I'll tell you now, our receptors in our bodies, they understand the difference between clean product and unclean product. And then thirdly, sustainability is at the core of our platform technology that we're utilizing to grow our cannabis. And as a result, obviously, we're able to grow cannabis with a fraction of the actual amount of land that's required, even compared to indoor growing. We're also able to do it much more efficiently. We're in a perpetual flowering process. And importantly, because we're not utilizing any pesticides, there's no fertilizers, there's no solvents, all of the water that we use is actually biodegradable. So from an environmental perspective, this is a very unique platform technology, which gives us, I would say, best-in-class credentials from a sustainability perspective as it relates to the cannabis world. So some major milestones that obviously we're excited now to build on as we start to scale for 2022.
Well, it all sounds incredible. Can you tell me, do you guys get to set, let's say, the recipe for the cannabinoids that are grown within the trichomes? And a secondary question, do those trichomes grow into actual flower, or are they kept in a lab and used as an ingredient, just to clarify for the audience?
So obviously we start with the plant, and based on the genetics of the plant, we're obviously growing those same genetics of the plant from an overall cannabinoid profile perspective. As it relates to the actual final, biomass, we're growing trichomes, right? So in fact, it's a great question. 93% of our biomass is trichomes. And, I talked about the density, how we're actually able to grow trichomes with, on average, between 100 and 200 times more density than what actually grown on a regular plant. Part of that is because of the structure that we have and just a unique conformation, but it also drives significant overall efficiencies for us. And as a result, we have, as part of our biomass, you have roughly a ratio of 93% trichome, which is really unique. The other 7% is the cell, which is the starting point to grow the trichome. And then with that biomass, we can take that and utilize that biomass just like you can typically utilize any type of flower. We can decide to take it and do extraction and go into oils. We can decide to actually take it in itself and go into edibles. It can be utilized, basically as regular cannabis to be consumed from a medicinal perspective with different types of formats. So it has the exact same versatility that existing cannabis flower. But obviously, what's important to understand is that we're all trichome, or 93% trichome.
And that's where all the factory of production of cannabinoids are happening. So in terms of synthetic versus the methodology that you guys are using, is it chalk and cheese, or is it just you guys are far more purified when it comes to the actual ingredient that's going into products?
Look, I think it's important that for your viewers, they understand that, the differences between a biosynthesis, right, which is obviously, but you have synthetic, you have biosynthesis, which is basically utilizing mold or fungi to grow the actual singular cannabinoids versus ourselves. Obviously you can group synthetic and biosynthesis together, largely driven by the fact that these are obviously genetically modified. Okay, we are non-GMO, so this is like the first major difference. The second major difference between, let's say, these two groups is biosynthesis and synthetic are always going to be using singular isolates. Okay, so it's CBD or CBG. We are full spectrum. Okay, and this is really a critical component of our technology platform, is around its ability to be able to grow full spectrum of the different active ingredients. And this is really important because when you look at a number of different scientific studies, the human body always reacts better to what they call the entourage effect or the systematic effect, where you have multiple polyphenols, as in the case of our Vinea product, where we already have strong validation of our platform technology with selling our red grape cell product in the cardiovascular health space with Vinea. We actually have piceid resveratrol. We're the only company in the world that actually produces piceid resveratrol from the skin of the red grape, which has glucoside, which has amazing solubility, but it works in unison together with other critical polyphenols like catechin, quercetin, anthocyanins, and tannins. And it's that harmonious effect which creates the best outcome from an overall health and wellness perspective. Similarly, with cannabis, there's a lot of research on the entourage effect. Some people call it the synergistic effect, which talks about the importance of the different cannabinoids working together with the terpenes and flavonoids in order to give you the best possible outcome from an overall effectiveness perspective. And it's like simple. I like to think about it like an orchestra. You have multiple different components of the orchestra working together to give you the best overall experience. It's the same thing in the plant world. You need to have all the different active ingredients working together. And that's the way that God gave us the plant as well. So this is a major factor. And I actually, you opened the discussion talking about the pharma world. And the pharma world, having woken up with Pfizer, purchasing $6.7 billion, purchasing a company that has strong, cannabis knowledge base. This is a major move from pharma, who've gone from the synthetic world, right? And actually they're coming back full circle now to the plant world and realizing, obviously the power of botanicals in its full spectrum, composition, in order to help solve some of the major palliative diseases and indications that today specific synthesized pharma drugs are very challenged, and are very challenged in helping to solve. And that's why today in the US you have between 45 million people at least that are today consuming medicinal cannabis as either total substitutes or in addition to their current, pharma grade synthesized medication for anything from fibromyalgia, ALS, cancer medication, epilepsy medication, etc. So it's really interesting times. Pfizer, I think, took a bold, audacious decision to actually start to kind of come back to the original source of where the pharma world started, which is the plant, and back to botanicals.
Yeah, I think I recently saw that they have a medicine that specializes in cardiovascular disease. I think was the cherry on the cake for Pfizer acquiring that company. I could talk to you all day, Ilan. I swear to God, I'm absolutely sold on everything you guys are doing. It's been an enthralling chat, and I hope we get to chat again before the end of the year and get an update on everything you guys are doing. For everybody who wants to know more, check out the website for Bioharvest Sciences below. I highly recommend doing some research on them. Ilan, thank you again, mate. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for the opportunity, Owen. Have a great year.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day, and we chat you in the next episode.